With Real Bread Week coming up on the 14th of May, we thought we'd get out of the studio and come and do some cooking in the kitchen, some baking in fact with some bread. So I've got Rhiannon here from the Epsom Bakehouse with me today. Rhiannon, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, let's talk a little bit more about Epsom Bakehouse. What is it that you guys do?
So it is just me, and I run the Epsom Bakehouse and have done for the last 4 years. I set it up, it was a massive career change for me, but I knew I wanted to do something different, and at the end of 2012 I took a course with a company called Bread Angels, which teaches you to set up your own micro bakery from home.
Nice.
And it was a really great course, and I put those skills into practice, baking bread and selling it in my local community.
Oh, good.
And I had a stall on the Epsom Farmers Market that I shared with 2 other Bread Angels, and we built up a great local following and sold bread to lots of happy customers. But another part of the Bread Angels is that you get to teach bread making once you've built up your own skill set, and I started doing that about 2 years ago.
Cool.
And absolutely love teaching bread making, so that's what I focus on now, and I teach a whole range of courses, from an introduction to bread making, Italian bread, sourdough, and also how to set up your own micro bakery. So I now teach that course that I originally took.
It's all gone full circle.
It has indeed.
Now obviously you got in contact with us about Real Bread Week, which is coming up.
Yes, it is.
It's very nearly here, and can you tell us a little bit more about what Real Bread is, because I was a little bit confused.
Absolutely. So Real Bread Week was set up by the Real Bread campaign in 2009, and it celebrates people who bake, sell and teach about bread that's made without any additives or preservatives, so just flour, salt, water and yeast or a sourdough starter. And there'll be lots of activities going on, so I have classes next week and in Real Bread Week, and you can check it out on Real Bread Campaign's website, events that are near you. So it's just to promote getting involved in Real Bread, and perhaps either learning to make your own or supporting a producer who's near you.
Right, so now we're going to have a go.
Yeah.
And this is the first bit of bread. Now I sort of started this one off sneakily before we started filming. So do you just want to tell us a little bit more about what this is?
Yeah, so what we're doing today is what I call a no kneads. There's no hands-on kneading for Katja.
Good, clean hands.
So it's a really easy recipe, and all I did was last night mix together flour, salt, water and yeast, left it in the fridge overnight, and it's all bubbled up, and I then poured it into this roasting tin this morning, and I've left it for about 3 hours. Nice sunny day today, and it's risen up to the top of the roasting tin, and it's ready to go in the oven. So it's really hands off, really easy. There was probably kind of 5 to 10 minutes at each stage there that I had to do something, and you can make a really great bread for lunch. Just by doing that. So we're just going to top it now with some tomatoes, as you were starting.
I've started the B, because I'm going to go for a very corporate PR for Brooklands Radio, which is good.
So we're just topping it with some tomatoes and basil, but obviously it's a blank canvas for whatever toppings you might like. So maybe olives, maybe some sun-dried tomatoes, some herbs. We'll put a bit of sea salt and olive oil on it as well. One thing I wouldn't put on top is grated cheese, though, because you bake bread at really high temperatures, so it get burned. So you could probably put a bit on afterwards, or eat it with some nice cheese for lunch. But otherwise, go for it. And as you say, you can, if you're getting kids involved in baking, they can make whatever pattern they like with the toppings. So yeah, just shred a bit of
Put the basil
around.
Pour it up a little bit?
Yeah, if you want to. And it just smells amazing.
It does. I love basil, actually. I do love basil. I know it sounds like a really silly question, but can you make a sweet focaccia as well?
Yeah, I think you could. You could definitely put a bit of sugar in and put some, say, raisins or nuts, something like that. But I think you would probably start to change the nature of the bread slightly. So if you are going to make a sweet bread, I would start going towards a more enriched bread with some butter in, and then you're getting towards a brioche or something like that. So, do you know what? I always say experiment, because that's how bread came about in the first place, just experimenting and whatever suits your taste, to be honest.
It's the thing I like about cooking, actually. There's no such thing as making mistakes, really.
No, you're just learning progress, on you go.
Making something different.
So once you've decorated with whatever toppings that you want, what we're going to do is sprinkle over a bit of salt, and this is a coarse sea salt, so it just gives a little bit of flavour, although there is already salt in the dough, so it's whatever's to your taste. So we'll just sprinkle a bit on top. for you.
Not too much. It's just everywhere?
Yeah, however
Yeah.
you want it. And then, unfortunately, I am going to make you get messy in a minute.
Oh no! I thought I got away with that.
Excellent. So then just drizzle over some olive oil. So really just a little bit.
Just do the thumb. Yeah, there's the messy bit. Oh no, oh no.
It's going to get even messy in a minute. So
Oh,
just
no.
drizzle a tiny bit of olive oil on your finger. On your
Okay.
fingers. And now what I want you to do
Yeah.
is get your hands and just push like this. Push the toppings in a little
Oh,
bit.
there you go. There it is. There it is.
So really go for it.
Shove it in.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It is gloopy.
It is gloopy, yeah. But it's
I
going to
saw
taste great. And what's best is, I mean, we did leave this overnight, and I say, oh, this took 24 hours. And people are like, really? I'm like, well, I didn't do anything for 24 hours. But what's happening is the yeast are digesting the flour, is they're producing really great flavours in your bread. So giving it that time actually makes some really great tasting bread once we get it out of the oven.
Now, why are we poking it down? Is it to give it more
Just
flavour?
to,
Or is it to stop it
no,
burning?
it's just, yeah, stop it burning, and it just incorporates it into the bread a little bit. So we're just going to pop it into the oven, and we bake at a really high temperature, about 240 degrees centigrade. And that should take about half an hour.
Okay, so the focaccia's in the oven now. We're going to get that one out very soon, but we're going to try something else in the meantime.
Yep.
A bit of kneading.
Yes. So we just did the kind of end of the bread making process, and
Yep.
now we're going to do the start, when you start kneading together your dough.
Okay.
This dough here would make a great kind of sandwich loaf, nice white sandwich loaf. So
Lovely.
in the bowl, we've got 500 grams of bread flour. So
Nice.
that's a strong flour. It's either in the supermarket, you see it's got bread or strong flour written on it. And then we've got 10 grams of salt and 5 grams of dried yeast.
Lovely.
So if you just
this is
first of all give them a quick mix together,
Okay,
and
with my hands.
yeah, you can get your hands in there.
Because we're going to get messy, let's be honest. We're going to get messy.
And you'll have seen that I added the salt and the yeast on the opposite sides of the bowl,
Yes.
so that the salt doesn't kill the yeast at the start of your bread making process, which it can do.
Ah,
So it's just good practice to
okay.
keep them separate.
Oh, cool.
So now you're going to
Okay.
add in, got
messy.
just 320 grams. So
Okay.
you add it in slowly. it'll go-
Around.
No, you can just put it straight into
Pop
the
in.
centre.
It's the maths teacher in me now sitting here watching scale.
Yeah, we often get people who want to get it bang on. Don't worry if you're a little bit
It's a
over.
bit like fueling up the car, isn't it?
Yeah.
250, 270, 280.
Yeah, you're almost going to stop now.
Whoop.
Yeah,
Ah, 2 over, close. That'll go.
All right, so what we've got here is a great bit of equipment.
I thought it was a credit card.
It's a bread scraper. So great little bit of plastic, and you can just use it. Should be like an extension of your hand when you're making bread. So you can use
Okay.
it to mix, cut,
Oh, cool.
scrape. So I'll give you that, and just
Lovely. Just to get-
start to bring the flour in to the centre, and bring all that together. So
This is strange.
as you're mixing it all in, what happens is that the wet stuff all sticks to the scraper, so you might need to
Oh.
scrape it off occasionally with your finger, get that wet stuff back into the centre of your dough. It's a bit like kind of squeezing out a sponge. You're getting
Yeah.
all that water into your flour.
Nice.
So it starts to look really dry, but actually what you've got on your scraper is quite wet.
It's quite right as well.
Yeah.
Oh, crumbs, it is, isn't it? That's where all the water's gone. There it is.
And when you're using flour, so the bread flour, so it's a strong flour, what you're looking for is a lot of protein in the flour. So generally it's over, this one will be about 12 grams of protein per 100 grams. So if you're not
Oh,
sure
wow.
of the flour you're using, you can just check that and you'll know it's strong enough to make bread.
Yeah.
And that protein is the gluten that gives the bread that nice springy texture.
Okay.
So that forms in your dough once you've added in the water to the
All
flour.
of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So you probably want to get in there, perhaps
Yeah,
mash
should we get the
those dry
hands
bits in.
Yeah. I feel it's time. Okay, I should put this down. Try not to put too much for this. Trying to get all the flour in. So when you've got things like wholemeal dough as well,
Yeah.
Is this similar sort of process or?
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
a similar process. With a straight wholemeal bread,
Mhm.
I would possibly add in maybe a bit of sugar,
Okay.
just to give the yeast a bit of it's basically good food for the yeast, but also it can a good say a nice dark treacly sugar can just take the edge off the wholemeal flour, because it can be quite a dense, heavy loaf if you make it with 100% wholemeal flour.
Oh, okay.
But again, it's up to you. Some people, I don't generally add sugar into my into my
loaf.
All right, I think you're ready to take that out, and we can do a bit of kneading.
Okay.
So
straight onto the surface?
Yep, straight onto the surface. So I don't flour any additional flour, just because that will just get absorbed into your dough and make it drier.
It's really dry.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So
Right, monster of the deep pans. It's all good. It's like the focaccia all over again. I need one of these. Yeah.
Yep. So tip that out.
Okay. And then
It's
come out
a little bit.
clean.
Yeah, it's come out pretty clean. That's what you want to see. Don't leave half your future loaf in the bowl. Scrape it out.
No. Yeah. We don't waste bread. Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh, got the sides right.
Now, do you want me to show you, and then you can?
Go on then.
Yeah.
I will let you get your hands a little bit messy.
A little bit
We can
messy.
step to the side. Okay. So
All
what
right.
are we going to do?
So what we're going to do, so just before you start, you can see now that this is still, it's cracking, it breaks really easy when you tear it. So when we're kneading, what we're looking is to get into a nice consistent dough throughout, and it's nice and stretchy.
Lovely.
So how I do it, I'm right-handed, so I anchor it down with my left hand, use just the heel of my right hand, push away, fold it back, and then turn it 90 degrees. And you'll feel that's quite wet, and back. And it's just a repetitive motion, like that.
Okay.
So do you want to have a go?
Go on then.
So I always tell
Anchor
people
with
to
the
be
left.
quite assertive, and just go for it.
Tell the bread who's boss.
And don't worry about it all sticking to your fingers, because...
I've got enough of that going on already.
don't worry about it.
Oh. So with real bread like this, you were saying it's quite easy to do at home as well.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see today, we've not really used any kind of specialist equipment, just a bowl. You don't have to have the scraper, it's nice to have. I'm going to get it back for you.
Oh yeah, the scraper. I've taken the scraper away.
So that I
I've
was
taken
like,
it away.
It's just useful to bring all your bits together. So really get that stretch going. That's the important part of when you're kneading. That's all right.
It was going well.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
That's because as you're kneading it, you're developing the stretchy gluten. So that's a protein that's like an elastic band. So it's gradually working up to be able to stretch it quite far.
It just feels so wet, doesn't it?
Yeah, but power on through it.
Power through.
Yeah.
Power through.
I think people are tempted to add flour at this point, and I always say,
I probably
please
would have
don't.
done at home actually. Yeah.
Or if you can imagine, all that flour is going to do is just soak up the water that you added in, and soak up, so that the dough gets drier and drier. And when you put it in the oven, obviously that's just baking is partly dehydration, so it'll just get even drier. So really, you want to keep as much moisture in the dough as possible. So then you get a nice soft loaf at the end of it.
So I was going to say actually, because when I've made bread, which isn't very often, I'll admit, it does come out quite dry, and it probably is because I'm adding way too much of that. Or because I'm just not a very good cook. I mean,
I'm sure
that could be the reason why.
It's not that. So keep stretching it. Really stretch it out, and you can see now it's a bit more consistency to it.
Yeah.
It's not kind of dry bits and wet bits, and you're really getting a more stretch on it, and you can see it's starting to get more kind of slightly bouncy. Do you want to scrape off your right hand?
I would. You know, I've got about.
You've got half a loaf on there.
I know. I was going to say we could feed half of Surrey.
So really try not to get your fingers involved. Try to just use the heel of your hand. Yeah. It's really hard though, and I have to say, like, I've definitely had times when I'm just like, how have I stuck to this so badly? But once you get into rhythm and you're going as fast, and you'll find you don't stick quite so much.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice, and it's a nice thing to do at home. If you've got time, you get into it's a bit kind of time out. You've basically got to stand there. And people say that it's just 10 minutes, maybe not even that much, when you just got to stand there and do this. Inevitably, once you're this involved, this is when the phone rings or the doorbell goes.
I'm glad we've got neither here today. It's not happening.
So someone needs your attention. You're like, no, I'm attached to my dough.
Not today.
So you're going to keep kneading, and there's no set time limit.
I was going to say, is there a certain amount of time?
What I showed you earlier, when it broke off very easily, we're aiming to move away from that and to get to a nice springy dough. And we'll do a little test in a bit to say, do we know if our dough is kneaded enough?
Hopefully it's not the meringue test where you stick it over your head.
No, it's not.
I didn't sign up for that.
I don't think we'd get it out your hair if you tried that. Yeah, so you can see now in the dough, when you stretch it out, so if you just do one stretch,
Oh, yeah.
and then you can see all the little gluten
Oh, wow.
strands. So it's all there, it's all starting to develop. So it's all coming
cool.
together. And what will happen is in between those strands, so what happens, the yeast start to digest the flour, they break down the starch in the flour and produce gas, carbon dioxide, and they'll fill the gaps between those strands and pockets of air, and that's what rises your dough.
Okay.
Yep, so there's plenty going on.
Very scientific.
It is a little bit, but it's scientific to a point, and then there's a bit of trial and error as well.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, work out what works in your kitchen. If you read a recipe, just remember that whoever wrote that recipe wrote it in their kitchen, wherever that was.
Yeah.
And what worked for them in that kitchen, whatever time limits worked for them, might not work. Today we're filming this on a beautifully sunny, hot day.
It's gorgeous.
It's wonderful. And so dough is naturally going to proof more quickly. So the heat does help because the yeast will work more quickly. They'll get to work more quickly producing that gas when it's warmer. If it's a cold January day, it will take longer to prove your dough. We did add in cool water. You can add in kind of tepid water.
Yeah,
don't make it
not
hot. So
too
when you
hot
put your
for
finger
yeast.
in, it shouldn't feel hot or cold, like it's body temperature.
Okay.
Because the yeast, as well as being killed by salt, will be killed by hot water. So anything over about 40 degrees will start to kill your yeast.
Yeast is quite tricky, isn't it, I suppose, though? There's so many things that can kill it.
I say with yeast, just remember that they like the same things we do. They like a kind of nice average temperature, so you wouldn't like it if it was 40 degrees in here.
No.
They like to be fed with the flour. They don't like excess salt. Basically it's treating them how you would like yourself. So nice and warm but not too warm. Flour as food, and off they go. And give them time to do their thing. They're tiny, so
it's difficult
yeah.
with them. This feels very different now.
Yeah, it does feel really different, doesn't it? It's nice and springy. You're not leaving any of it on the bench anymore.
My
it's
hands
really
are less
changed.
monster of the deep.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I think when you're thinking about yeast, try not to think of them as tricky. Just think of them as the only thing that won't kill them, unlike us, is cold. So they just work really slowly in the cold, and they come back to life once you warm them up.
Ah, useful.
So if we break off a bit now, and that's looking really good. It's nice and soft. So we do this test called the Windowpane Test.
Okay.
So what I've done, I've pulled off a bit about a golf ball size there, and I just tease it out with my fingers. So I'm literally teasing it till I can get it thin enough to see the light through.
Oh,
You
good.
can see my finger behind
Yeah.
there.
So that means it's done.
So that means it's almost there. You're tearing slightly, so you've got a slight hole there.
Yeah.
When I got to the point where you can see light through, so I think a little bit
A
more.
little bit more. That's all good. It's all good.
I mean, we're probably not going to. We could make bread out of this, but we're just practicing on kneading today. But
I do need
obviously
practice.
You would get to that point, and I say when people say, "Oh, my bread didn't turn out quite how I wanted it," what went wrong? I say, well, something could have happened at any stage. That's why it's trial and error. So you've got to give it time. You don't kill your yeast. Knead it thoroughly.
I think that's probably the thing people do make mistakes with, because it's quite tempting to do it quite quickly and sort of shove it in the oven, I suppose.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you can leave this in a hot place to prove, a warm place. So people say the airing cupboard, maybe the oven on the lowest setting. But I mean, you've got to be careful because an oven could get to 50 degrees quite easily, and that will kill your yeast.
Yeah.
I say if you can, just leave it on the side, cover it over really well so it doesn't dry out, and just give it a good hour or so to rise afterwards.
Are there other kneading techniques?
Yes.
What would you do?
So, first and foremost, if this was really getting on your nerves and you were really stuck to it and you just think, goodness, I just want to walk away from this for 5 minutes, scrape your hands off, put the bowl over it for kind of 5-10 minutes. The dough will relax. What happens when you add the water in is that the gluten forms in the dough from 2 different proteins in the flour, and that process does continue but much more slowly, even if you're not hands-on kneading. So you can just walk away, and I find in classes I barely do any kneading because I'm going around and talking to everyone, and I come back and generally my dough's all right at the end. I do a bit, but not much. So you can walk away for 5 minutes. So it's kind of an intermittent kneading. Walk away and come back, and it will relax down. and feel much softer, and you can carry on kneading.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do if it's really, you find it is sticking a little bit, is just a little bit of olive oil. That's no bad thing to put in your bread. A bit of olive oil on the top work surface. Also, another one you can do is a more kind of French style, and I can show you that.
Go for it.
It's a bit more, slightly more violent. It's not violent, but so you're basically using your two hands as scoops, and they go underneath like that. It goes up and over, and you.
Jeez.
Up and over. So yeah, really, and then you're folding it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you think about who that could be as well?
Yeah. This is the bad day at the office kneading style. Like that. Making everything rattle. Do you want to try?
There you go. I'm gonna have a go. So you scoop it up.
You scoop it up and really slam it down.
Oh yes.
Excellent. So what you're going to do then is, you remember, always when you're kneading, you've got to get that stretch. So the last part is to stretch it up and over. So
stretch
just
it up and over.
Yeah. And then turn it round and scoop it up.
Scoop it up.
Yeah, excellent. Stretch
Not mentioning any names. Get those off the camera. This is fun.
Yes. So this is a really good one. I find in my kitchen, do be careful, I've got cupboards above my work surfaces, so you're like flinging it up and then you're like, oh, no, it's stuck.
It does sound amazing actually.
So either way, you can, so there's a few there, so either leaving it and coming back in 5 minutes and just carrying on, doing it as you are now, or maybe a little bit of...
a more tranquil method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I think you're pretty much there.
Yes,
do our
I can't
test
believe
again.
how much that's changed over
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. So look, when I pull a bit off, it's really stretchy.
It really is.
And then if we just try and do the Windowpane test again.
Oh, that looks good.
So
that
looks
looks good.
looking good. So you can really see the light through it.
Amazing. And it's not torn as well.
No, it's not torn. So great.
Good.
So what we do now, if we were going to carry on making bread, is we would scoop that up into our bowl.
Okay.
What I would do, if I was going to put this into a bowl, is just pat it down slightly and really tuck in. And you're just making a bit of a shape for the gas that is being produced to kind of be trapped against and rise your dough. So I just fold over all the sides.
So we don't want to lose that, do we?
No. All the sides, flip it over and just a couple of turns, nice neat ball of dough.
Lovely.
And then you would pop that in your bowl and leave it.
Nice.
Leave the yeast to get to work, which they will do.
Very good, very good.
Done, kneading.
No, so with this bread recipe as well, because obviously you said this is a basic one, could you then add, well not at this point, but could you add things at the beginning?
Yeah.
Or would you...
Definitely. So this is kind of like your Victoria sponge of breads. It's a nice plain dough that is definitely, you can add stuff in. At the beginning, I would add smaller things in, so maybe some seeds. And soak your seeds overnight so they're nice and juicy and they won't dry out when you bake your bread. Grated cheese, so you can put cheese in your dough.
You can put it in this one.
So
nice.
you can put, say, 100 grams of grated, nice strong like cheddar or something like that into the dough and just knead it through your dough. That would be absolutely fantastic. You can also use things like maybe like herbs, things like that, spices. It really is up to what your tastes are. Things like nuts, going to be hard to knead.
Yes.
So I would suggest that you leave that till you do its first rise, which maybe in this kind of temperature will take about an hour. And then incorporate nuts and things like that when you're folding your shape together to make your final dough. And also if you want to use nuts, maybe toast them a bit in the oven, just bring out the flavour of the nut before. It's really great.
Lovely. Well, I feel proud of that. I've done some kneading.
Yeah,
I feel proud of that.
It's really great.
We've got some more things to do. We've got some tasting to do.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll look at our focaccia.
The focaccia, which smells good.
Oh yeah, it's smelling good.
So we've made the focaccia, we've done a bit of kneading as well, and now comes the best bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some tasting.
Tasting.
Couldn't let you go home without doing that.
Oh, exactly. So what is this? You've made these for us.
Yeah, definitely. So after you did all that kneading, you can make your dough into any number of shapes really, but I did here's one I prepared earlier.
Oh, praise.
To say that. And I've actually used 2 different types of flour. Otherwise, it was exactly the same process, but I used a bit of malted flour, which is my favourite, with some seeds in it.
I was about to say, I can see the seeds in there.
Yeah,
actually.
definitely.
They're lovely.
So I made my dough into little rolls before I proved them for the second time. So once you'd left that dough we made earlier, you would have left it for about an hour until it had risen up the bowl, doubled in size, and then you'd shape it into whatever loaf you want to make and bake it after it approved into that shape.
Lovely.
So I made some rolls. The malted flour, really tasty. It's one of my favourites, having the seeds. So if you want to have a go, a little bit of tasting.
I will actually. These are good. They're very soft as well.
Yeah, really great.
Because whenever I make bread, it always ends up very, very crusty on the outside and quite dense and hard on the inside as well. How can I stop that? Do you know?
I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier about it's at the different stages. So make sure you haven't killed your yeast. Make sure you've got lots of water in there. That's really key. And just leaving it to rise.
This is so good. Sorry, I'm just like, yes. So the malted flour does make it taste different, doesn't it? Actually?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it gives a bit of sweetness to it, and it's a really nice one to try. So, and there's lots of different products out there that you can use. So
that's good. I literally could sit there and eat that all day. So I'm gonna put that down for a second, because the other thing we want to show you. Is what we made a minute ago.
Yeah, I'll take these.
Go on, you take those. I'm going to get the other thing as well. So obviously we made our focaccia bread. At the beginning. I'm going to pick it up actually.
And here it is.
Bring it over.
Out the oven. Look at that.
Looks very good.
Your B and your R.
I put them all the way around. There you go. They've sunken in slightly.
They're kind of there, but you can see them.
They're there. They're very, very good.
So I think that's really great. And what a great centrepiece for your lunch.
There we go. Very corporate too. It's very good. Well, thank you very much for having us down today.
No, not at all.
It's been lovely to come down. Obviously, Real Bread Week starts on the 14th of May.
Yeah.
It's all week with that one. We'll put all the details on the website and on the bottom of the video as well. And of course, you can find out more about Rhiannon and the Epsom Bakehouse as well.
Yep, you can find me at www.epsombakehouse.co.uk, or I'm on Twitter at Epsom Bakehouse.
That's awesome. There you go. So big thank you to you today.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to take the bread and I'm off. See you later. See you later.
Bye, James.